Shalom, everybody.
Um,
We're going to start off with a prayer request, get into the praise and worship, and get right into the word. Father, y'all, we come before you right now. Just thank you right now because you're worthy to be Barak. Father, y'all, we thank you right now for this is the day that you have made. We should continue to rejoice and be glad in it. Father, y'all, we just thank you right now. We just magnify your name because there's none like unto you, Father, y'all. Father, y'all, we just thank you. We sound the alarm right now, Father, y'all. We sound the alarm in the Ruach HaKodesh, Father, y'all. We know that there's work that must be done, Father, y'all.
Yes,
Father, I thank you right now how you've been putting upon my heart even more how we need to get busy about your business, Father, y'all. We need to get about your business, Father, y'all. We think that it can no longer be about us, Father, y'all. We thank, Father, y'all, we put away our selfish agendas, Father, y'all, begin to let the work of you be done in full effect, Father, y'all. Father, y'all, we thank you. We come against all forms of sickness, Father, y'all, all ruachs of sickness, Father, y'all, all ruachs of any form of depression, Father, y'all, any form of oppression, Father, y'all, any form of deception, Father, y'all. And Father, y'all, we just thank you right now for just being with us as a whole and watching over us, Father, y'all. Father, y'all, we thank you right now you begin to commission us out to do the work of you even more, Father, y'all, so we can see the captives be set free, Father, y'all. Father, y'all, we just thank you right now those that are oppressed, Father, y'all, they be released, Father, y'all, those that are sick, Father, y'all, even in the hospital, even concerning COVID, anything that's going on with them, Father, y'all, we thank you that there is hope for them, Father, y'all. We thank that hope is in the Ruach HaKodesh, Father, y'all. We thank that there's our foundation, Father, y'all. We thank that we repent, Father, y'all, and go back and do our first work, Father, y'all. Father, y'all, we thank you, Father, y'all. We let the gift, Father, y'all. We stir up the gift, Father, y'all, that's in us, Father, y'all, concerning the Holy Ghost, Father, y'all, the Ruach HaKodesh, Father. We just thank you right now for just being with us as a whole, constantly watching over, Father, y'all. Father, y'all, even more, Father, y'all, I thank you right now for just being with our children, Father, y'all.
Yes, Father.
Those that are out in the faith, Father, y'all, that's in the walk, Father, y'all, they have the guidance that they need, Father,
Yes,
y'all.
Father.
Even those, Father, y'all, that have a childlike mindset, Father, y'all, they begin to find the guidance they need, Father, y'all. I thank you right now for beginning to just open up doors of opportunities for them, Father, y'all, that your work may be done, Father, y'all. And Father, y'all, in the name of your Son, Yahushua Mashiach, we pray, so be it.
My voice to worship you, oh my needing joy. Thank God you hear, let me sweet, sweet sound in your ear. I love you, yeah, and I live
All right, shalom, everybody. We're back again. We're going to get into the word today. We're going to be talking about stirring up the gift. It's kind of going together with also having a relationship with those that are in, I would say, higher authority than you, those that already have a foundation in them that can help lay a foundation in you. And so you can't stir up a gift if you don't have it. It's the thing. A lot of people don't have relationship with any elders, anything of that way, so they can actually get things instilled in them. And so it puts them in a position where, you know, they're out here running around. I call it like words come to me like some type of hotel or vagabond or something. They run around without no type of nothing, you know, to live for, just spiritually wanderers, pretty much, and renegade, spiritual renegade, just out here, you know, sinister, you know, just out here doing everything crazy rather than, you know, operating in the things of the Most High. And when you're in the Most High, like those that watch this video, you'll see, you know, I operate through the Ruach HaKodesh. I'm not just in no church. I'm not orthodox by anybody that's saying anything, you know, what's supposed to happen, whatever. We constantly moving by the Ruach HaKodesh, going from glory to glory, going from faith to faith. And basically getting with this, what I'm talking about here is Paul was telling Timothy to stir up the gift in him. But we're going to get and see that, you know, Paul was not a renegade. He wasn't just somebody that just popped out of nowhere either. He was once someone that was slaying those that were followers of Yahushua Mashiach. And Paul, to show you what him and Barnabas they got their hands laid on, you know, by the elders of the, you know, congregation too, to go do some work also. And I think it sent Paul to the Gentiles and Barnabas went to those of the Yehud. And so this is what we'll look at. And I'm trying to lay the foundation here. I don't just want to get off into stirring up the gift, because we got to figure out where this coming from, because people are popping out of nowhere. And especially in this walk, we see a lot of things going on where it doesn't seem like a lot of them have a foundation. And I was just sharing with Maisha, I have a higher calling. The calling I have is not just to be part of and run around. You know, it's okay to fellowship, but at the end of that, what are we going to do? Like, what are we going to do to get our hand to the plow? What is the call to action? And that's not what I'm saying. Most of the time, the call to action can't be have a cookout. I mean, and, you know, and get together, you know, and sing and stuff. That's fine, but that's not, you know, it has to be more to it than that. After we finish fellowshipping, what is the actual real meat? When the milk is done, where's the meat at? And so to get to the meat, we have to get to the foundation of things. So we know that Paul was once slaying those that were following Yahushua Mashiach. And even when Timothy got stoned, Paul held the cloak. And saying, so therefore, when they stoned him, so we're going to see where Barnabas and Paul was operating together. They didn't go out on their own. They were commissioned. They got their hands laid on them by the elders, and they went out and they were actually ordained to do the work. And the catch is, when you read the whole Bible, this is the thing, see, a lot of us, to get a clear understanding, will have to accept some of this apocrypha and eat the meat and spit out the bones and get out of just the normal 66, what they taught you in Christianity. Because if you stop there, a lot of agendas has been pushed in it. I mean, like that, you have to be able to open up and accept. Because other than that, we wouldn't have no reason for having a 1611, or like King James wasn't even around then. We don't diss it. We look at it as steady, but we have to get some more material. You have to look at your strong definition of words and what's all being said and why is it being said. Certain words meaning certain things. Like the Presbyterian, when they say land on the hand, that goes back to the elders. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we have to look at why things are being said. And that's just a footnote, you know, to say that you have to open up and let the Ruach HaKodesh lead you into what you see to be something been tweaked with or whatever the deal is, but you have to not let Roman Catholics give you something to swear by, you know, to swear by. And that's what pretty much happened, those that want to swear by King James Version only. Notice it's a virgin. I mean, that's it, you know, like you say in footnote, it's a virgin. That's the thing in churches taught you that this the end all be all, but it's not. They didn't have that back then. They had parchment, and they had like scrolls. Like Paul, when he was telling those that he was Greek, and say, bring my cloak that I left with Claudia. He said, especially the parchment, you know, saying, bring that. That was some writings that had words on there that was actually from the law. He wanted that. He didn't have no Bible. We're reading about them now. This been put together by man. That's the reason why every last one that has a version, you have to compare it to the other version to see what did he leave out from the original Hebrew text. That's the thing. And if we don't do that, we're not studying. We're just reading what the oppressor gave us, and that's it. And that's it. You know, you're not going to get a full liberation in what the oppressor gave you. It's going to get you halfway there. It's not going to get you all the way there. To those that have a lower calling, yeah, you can read that and be fine going into the kingdom. But I have a higher calling, so I need all of it. That's it. I need it all. So in order to get it all, you have to actually know how to write and divide the word of truth. And so we're going to start off, before we get to Paul talking to Timothy about stirring up the gift that's in him, that he laid hands on and imparted in him. That's why you have to be quick. Don't let nobody lay hands on you quick, and don't be quick to lay hands, because the Ruach transfer, whether it be the Ruach HaKodesh or a Ruach, is it, they transfer. And so we're going to go into, I think we're going to go into Acts 13, when Paul and Barnabas is commissioned out to do the work. And they're not commissioned out by these elders. Now, this is what I want you to look into. Remember who sends them out. It said the Ruach spoke and said, separate me, Barnabas and Paul, for the work that I've sent them to do. Not those elders. They're just used. They're tools. And they were used as tools to lay hands on them and anoint them to do the work. But they was not the ones that sent them. They was just used. And when they did it, it said the Ruach spoke, told them what they want them to do. And it showed, because you see the mission that they had was so powerful. And so we're going to get into Acts 13, 16, 12. Acts 13, 1 through 5.
Acts chapter 13, starting at verse 1. Now there were of the called out assembly that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Shimon, that was called Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch, and Shaul. As they ministered to Yahuwah and fasted, the Ruach HaKodesh said, separate me, Barnabas and Shaul, for the work which until I have called them. And when they had fasted and prayed and laid their hands on them, they sent them away.
Now the laying of hands was the confirmation. That's all it was. It was just the order of things. That we have to look at. Like a lot of this stuff that we see going on is out of order. That's why the Most High started dealing with me and saying your calling that you have, it's different. So like when I see ones doing what all they have, that's all they got. Like my calling was a life and death calling, 2 different occasions. So when it's life and death, it's going to be a different desire to see things than those that just found out who they are and now they want to just start, talking about the Most High. It's not a general conversation to me. It's not casual. So no matter what goes on in the natural man, the spirit, the man in the Ruach has an actual a desire that's deeper, because when I came into this, it wasn't by choice. I had to. It's like I was either going to get saved or die. What your word is sink or swim. That's it right there. It was sink or swim. It wasn't, and I'm not hearing that testimony in the people that I'm running into. All I'm hearing is they got saved because somebody told them about the truth, and yeah, they received it freely. I had to receive it by force. I had to receive it because it was like if I didn't receive it, I don't think I would be here. And when you look at that to that extreme, it causes you to be a student of the word. That's why I say when you look at these scriptures, if you see me physically and you see me standing here, believe me, it's in the book. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. And the scriptures back things up when you do things decent order. So this here was showing that they had to actually report to the headquarters. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't just do what they wanted to do. That was another occasion when they was talking about, you can't be saved unless you were circumcised. And there was a big stir among that. So they sent them to the brothers then and said, look, go to the elders and see what they got to say about this matter. And the situation was, okay, they should be able to be saved, circumcised or not. That's the thing. This is what we're dealing with, circumcision of the heart versus circumcision of the flesh. And that's what I'm saying. So they had to go back to this scenario in a whole different case once again. But now they're being commissioned by the Ruach to do this work. And the elder was standing there as willing vessels, letting the Ruach operate through them and let them say what needs to be done through these particular people. And I think it's a difference now from what we have as everything has been watered down versus what they had then. It was more audible stuff happening. Angels will operate more. But the society has made everything so spooky now to you, half of them don't even believe in angels or demons like that. So we have to look at this thing and say, okay, what's true and what's false? And it's not all here. Like I say, so it's a lot of other things that we'll read as we'll venture off into some things that I know that the Ruach is showing me, but it's not going to be all of what the oppressor is giving you. You're going to only get part of it, and that depends on your calling. If you don't have a higher calling, then it's okay. Just read what he gave you and roll with it. Even wherever you want to go there and him, do James Brown, shout, hit splits on the floor, that's fine. That's as far as your calling take you, but I'm past that. I'm not the only one to hear nobody out there, hooping and hollering and holding the back of their head and sweating and all this stuff in. And at the end of all of it, we all still got demons. That's it. Nobody has cast nobody out. Nobody has set nobody free. A lot of lust going on, a lot of oppression. So it's like we have to look at it for what it's worth.
All right. So Acts 13, verse 4. So they being sent forth by the Ruach HaKodesh, departed unto Seleucia, and from thence they sailed to Cyprus. And when they were at Salamis, they preached the word of Elohim in the synagogues of the Yahudim. And they had also Yehukanan to their minister.
Okay. And so basically just showing that the Ruach HaKodesh sent them to do this work. This is me showing you after Paul has been converted and after he had went from Saul to Paul. And now in this position here, he's getting ready to do the work of Yah, and he's not going on his own. He's not, because when they begin to get to Antioch, it's going to show that those brothers were afraid because they knew that he had once killed those that were of the faith, that was following the Mashiach. So at this point in time, I'm showing you the foundation of who is laying hands on Timothy. And I'm showing you that he's authorized by the elders to lay hands on Timothy. He's not a renegade, somebody that just popped up out of nowhere that decided that they want to start doing something. And that's when the Ruach began to speak to me and say, okay, go back. Like Revelation say, repent and do your first work. Go back from the beginning. When you first begin to come in and begin to document everything that happened at a critical moment that had something to do with me and what was going on at that time. 2 big occasions I was laid hands on to be commissioned to do something. I mean, that's it. And 2 occasions. And each occasion, it was a life or death situation. One occasion was when I first came in, and I remember being inside of a church setting, and they laid hands on me then at that point. And another set, and mind you, at this point, it wasn't just, there's an order that y'all had, but it was men and women that laid hands on me, and like that. And then when I get to the actual next occasion, it was a whole nother setting. 9 years later, there's another setting. It's the same scenario. These people don't know each other. That first church don't even exist no more. Lay hands on me again, commission me to do a work. That's it. And it was laying on the hands of the presbytery. Though I didn't know nobody. I knew one guy. I didn't know nobody else that was in this setting. Nothing was pre-set up or nothing. It was just an occasion. And y'all showed me that this happened to you twice. That's it. And so in one case it happened to you, you backslide a little bit, you want to come back into the truth. He did it again. He has an order. I've never not been commissioned, ever. And this is the thing. So it's always been that particular case. So I went back and documented every time those main two events, skipping a whole lot of details where those both times where one did not know me, didn't know I ever was saved or nothing, because I came in as a regular individual and called me out the crowd. That's it. And so that's the thing. That's why I know that the Most High, how he operated, he do things decent in order. And I'm showing you this to show you that Paul didn't just all of a sudden just lay hands on Timothy out of nowhere. He was commissioned by the elders through the Ruach HaKodesh. And in his ministry, he took hold to Timothy as the son of his own body. And he was a father unto Timothy in the Ruach. And so I think we're going to look. And so we're not going to look at Moses, but if you look around, I think in Numbers, it talks about in 27th chapter, how when Moses, when he was up and old in age, he laid hands on Joshua. When he laid hands on Joshua, he put some wisdom in Joshua. And when he put the wisdom in Joshua, the people listened to Joshua just like they listened to Moses. But Moses laid hands on Joshua and he transferred the spirit. Moses did this in another occasion when Jethro told him, hey, these people are going to worry you, man. You keep doing all this. He laid hands on about 70 of them and put the spirit of him on these 70 for small matters. And then when the matter was big, then they came to Moshe. So the Ruach transfers. And the wisdom of you, it transferred from one individual to another. That's why I say, when you talk about the prophets and the priests, like prophet, like priest, all of them were profane. And the oil also that dripped down from Aaron's head, from his beard, all the way to his apron. It's the same thing when you see someone of a homosexual spirit, a Ruach that's in the church and ministering, you see the piano player, he a homosexual, and the guy over the choir director, he a homosexual, and you see that spirit on that leader too. It falls down. That it flows down because he's been laying hands on them. He's been covering them in prayer, and he's been in communication with them, and his spirit is transferring to them. That's why they have them that way. Same thing, you see it on the flip side when there's no order. When you see a situation where the woman is a pastor and all the women are doing something, the men are not doing that, and they're suppressed, and they don't see no other order because she's not pushing that. She's so glad to be up there, she's only pushing them. That's it, and the vice versa thing. It has to be a balance. When you're dealing with Yah, there is a balance. We know the art of thing, but when the Ruach come forth and commission those that come to work, the Ruach falls upon flesh. This is why I speak last week when he said, this is that. When Peter told him, this is that, or the prophet Joel, when he began to say, your sons and daughters should prophesy, your old men should dream dreams, your young men should see vision. This is that was spoken when he fell down in Acts. When he fell down, he was letting them know, no, these men are not drunk. This is that of the prophet. He echoed what Joel said. And so he echoed the mission, and the mission has to be done. Read the scriptures and begin to see what's all going on. As you see us sitting here mirroring Priscilla and Aquila, when Paul said, greet them. He said, those that are my fellow laborers in the word. He said, he began to talk to them in every letter. He began to let people know what needs to be done. But the confusion comes in at is when you see certain things that people don't understand, you just look at it for face value. But when you look at a lot of words in the King James Version, you put the Strong's dictionary up to certain meanings, you'll see what they really mean. You'll see, like I was saying, presbytery means the elders. Well, Lois and Eunice was Timothy's grandmother that laid hands on him earlier, that was actually under him, that he was actually under. And Paul was saying, I see that faith, that belief that's in you, which is also in them too. He's saying, I do believe it's in you. As we start reading, we'll see that transferred to Timothy, but Paul also imparted something in him. He gave him a gift. See, this is the thing. We have to know how to operate in the Ruach HaKodesh, and we have to read these scriptures and figure out what are we missing? What's the agenda? Like, it can't be no ulterior motive in the book. You have to say, okay, what's what? And what applies to me and what don't? And what happened from Genesis all the way to the last book that was read, Revelation. And you have to see, okay, why are they actually saying these things and who are they talking to? Like when I used to talk about the tithes, when I talk about Malachi, we said, when he told the priests, he said, you're cursed with a curse, even this whole nation. But when he talked about the Gentiles, he said, now the nation, he called you blessed. He said, bring the tithes and offering to the storehouse so that they may be meat in my house. But that was for the priests. The priests had to have meat because they was not supposed to work. And when we say, okay, well, you know, it was money, it wasn't money, because even in Leviticus, the law, it talks about if the way be too far for you and you can't get there, when we report, I think it was every 3 years or something like that, going to Jerusalem to bring your tithe. Say, if you can't make it, buy whatever your soul desire, strong drink or whatever. Say, so what? We hear the message. It's not saying that, it's saying bring that money to the church so we can have some money here. And that's not, the church is not the local storehouse. So we have to look at, I'm showing you an example how things can be taken out of context. When we talk about let your women be silent in the church, when we get to that scripture. So this is something that's touchy, but it's not touchy. It was a lot of confusion going on. You had the princess, the goddess Diana, and all this stuff going on. So Paul's not going to say that, then turn around in Greek, Priscilla and Aquila, and Priscilla and Aquila expound upon, you know, a more excellent way to Apollos. We say, I'm going to show he only knew John's baptism, but they had to get the baptism right. And so all he was saying was there's a hierarchy, but at the same time, there have to be an actual function going on. What we have going on, church world in Hebrew world, a dysfunction. The dysfunction is we have all the guys doing something, none of the ladies doing nothing. And then it's like we go from one extreme to another. It's like either you see nobody helping or you see too many people helping right here. The order is not to ruleship, take authority over the actual headship of the church. The function of the church should be together. Men and women supposed to be functioning in the church so you can get things done, prophesying. So when he started talking, he say, do all prophesy, do all speak in tongues, all covers both. It's just what he's saying. So he was saying, you know, when it's time to do these things, the edifying to the church is to prophesy, and the tongue is to you and Yah. And so he's talking to them when the unlearned come in, he's talking to the whole congregation. This congregation had a problem interrupting the service. And so when we see that going on, we say, okay, well, you know, you can't do nothing. Well, it's a contradiction. Well, it's not no contradiction. Who was that letter to? That's it. You know, who was that letter to, and who was Malachi talking to? Malachi was talking to the Levites, and that really went to the Levites. At that time, they was robbing Yah, and they wasn't bringing the tithes and offering in. They was actually interrupting the service for real. Same thing with the covers and all this stuff here. And we look at, you know, who's the head. We have Yah, Yahushua Mashiach, man, and then we have the woman, we have children. That's the actual order of things. It's not talking about nothing physical or nothing like that. You know, it's talking about a covenant of the Ruach. I'm saying, so this is what we have to look at. So this wisdom comes not from man, it comes from Yah. Like he download this wisdom in, and like we'll take off like a rocket, and ones will be watching 10 videos behind, wondering what happened. I ain't, you know, like I say, I could walk and chew gum. That's the thing. A lot of people don't see that. So they be looking at like, okay, look, no, man, we didn't fill off the back of no fruit truck. We have to make it into the kingdom. If you're going to be honest with yourself and make it into the kingdom, you can't ignore text. You have to read the whole thing and look at everything that's happening. Those that want more enlightenment, look at, if you have, because half of them don't look at their prophet, you look at Judith and see what was going on there. Look at Junior and look what was going on there when you see prophesying, praying night and day in that temple, around the time of Yahushua Mashiach. Look at Mary Magdalene and Martha and say, hey, he is risen. Go and tell those, go tell them that I rose. That was Yahushua said, you told them, go tell them that I rose. She had to go tell those guys that he had rose at that time, but the order has to be there. And what it is, we can't go from one extreme to another. We have to look at it. It's a matter of the heart. When it comes to husband and wife, it's a matter of the heart and respect. And it's a known thing. It's kind of like what's understood don't have to be said. Like the time is being spent on the wrong stuff. I'm saying this because, you know, and I know this is a lot of stuff, but I saw an army. And the army that need to get together is not no, you know, we're not, you know, it's a togetherness. Like it's time to fight. It's time to fight, you know, it's time to fight in the Ruach HaKodesh. It's time to get past the differences and stuff. Certain ones on certain baptism and all this kind of stuff. And I'm not even going to go here, but that was a scripture I was looking at when it started talking about the principles of Yah. And right prior to that, in Hebrews, I think it started talking about those that have strong meat, you know what I'm saying, and can't take the, that have the milk and can't take the meat because they still on milk. He was letting them know you need to get your senses discerned. You can be able to distinguish good versus evil and know what is what. But we can't even get to that point if we caught up on doctrines and stuff like that. Like when you caught up on doctrines, where you should be circumcised, uncircumcised, which day is the Shabbat, and all this kind of stuff here, you're never going to start fighting. And the whole while the enemy has an army coming against you that's well organized. You have to have all the soldiers in the army, and the women are part of the army. And that's just an order that has to be done with it. And the order, rather than get the order right, we have Hebrews that just throwing it all out the window and saying, you know, like it has to be more to it than fix a plate. It has to be some spiritual work that has to be done too. It's okay to do that, but there's also another part that has to be done to the spiritual man, to the ruach, and it has to be done in a way where when the Most High is downloading prophetic information or words or things of warning or whatever it is that's going on, they have to be able to sound that alarm so danger don't come, rather than be muted where you can't hear anything. This is the thing. So the order of Yah has to be respected to let that happen. So you can't just throw everything out the door and say, okay, look, this is how we do it. This is no church. That's what I'm saying now. Like I say, I'm just sharing pretty much my life story on YouTube as I progress, going from faith to faith, from glory to glory. There's no one that's saying this or this or that. It's all coming from the book. Everything that you hear, everything you see coming from the book. And so when you start seeing this stuff, you'll say, okay, where is this coming from? Well, you feel vexed after someone was touching you because they probably transferred a ruach to you. That's the same thing. That's the reason why you have to be careful. And a lot of stuff I saw, even in actual religious setting, a lot of embracing and stuff, half that stuff, you don't even know. Some of that stuff wasn't even cool, but because it was the order of things and the way things were done, you did it anyway. And you know, a lot of times you ever hug somebody and walked away feeling kind of awkward and weird. Well, that's why you felt that. You weren't supposed to do it. There's nothing wrong. You just have to speak up and say, no, I'm fine, nothing personal, but and you have to kind of do that sometimes. You don't feel led, but people will be offended. But would it be best that you be offended or I be vexed behind what you got on you? That's the thing. And that's what we have to get out of that religious mindset, get out of this type of, this la-la land thing where it's like everybody's okay. Everybody's not okay. People are going to need help. And a lot of them that's going to need help, you're going to encounter until they get that help, or unless you're trying to help them at that point, sometimes you have to stay your distance. And this is what we're talking about, stirring up the gift, and it can go both ways. This gift is talking about the gift through the Ruach HaKodesh, but there are other things that the enemy uses because he mimics. He mimics the tongues, he mimics everything that the Most High is doing. He transforms to an angel of light. And so I just wanted to show you, well, anyway, with that going on, where Paul, because the reason why I gave a lot of extra information, because he was commissioning those that were out there helping him in the work like that. He commissioned certain ones to actually do the work of Yah under the umbrella of him. And they was actually not all in the four corners. They were not all in some physical synagogue. They had churches in their homes, a lot of them. And so that's what they were doing. They were just helping him in the midst. And so now we get to Timothy. I think it's 2 Timothy 1:1-7. This is where I'm getting to the point where I'm talking about relationship, because once Paul got commissioned out, he developed a relationship with Timothy. And that relationship he developed with Timothy allowed him to impart some things into Timothy. And Timothy had to receive that. A lot of people out here are running separate, need somebody. A lot of Timothy's out here need a Paul. And just said a lot of Joshua's need a Moses. It's like they're not saying they need it, because it's like you're copying everything you see going on, but it's an order that's needed. The Most High will bring you to a certain order. It's not about going to no church. It's about whatever setting they may be or whoever it is. Sometimes there is an order that the Most High have you in, because I've ran into it by default twice, not even knowing who to, and I know, but in this case here, we talking about a relationship that's being built though. And there are times when there's not a relationship where the Most High have you in a setting where you will actually be commissioned for something through the Ruach HaKodesh. But this here is a situation where Paul knows Timothy, he knows his mother, grandmother, and everything. So he's actually developed a relationship with him, and it's not carnal. It's a love he have for him that's also more Ruach based than it is carnal. He just happened to know him by the flesh, but it's a spiritual thing going on. And so it's Timothy. Yeah, chapter 1:1-7. 1681. You can go ahead.
2 Timothy chapter 1, beginning at verse 1. Paul, an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach, by the will of Yahuwah, according to the promise of life, which is in Mashiach Yahushua, to Timothy, my dearly beloved son. Grace, mercy, and peace from Yahuwah the Father and Mashiach Yahushua our Adonai. I thank Yahuwah, whom I serve from my forefathers with pure conscience, that without ceasing, I have remembrance of you in my prayers night and day, greatly desiring to see you, being mindful of your tears, that I may be filled with joy. When I call to remembrance the unfeigned belief that is in you, which dwelt first in your grandmother Lois, and your mother Eunice, and I am persuaded that in you also. Wherefore I put you in remembrance that you stir up the gift of Yah, which is in you by the putting on of my hands.
Okay, now this say which is in you by the putting on of my hand, that you stir up the gift of Yah. And this the thing, so we get away from a lot of this stuff and we don't realize that when the Most High, he doesn't operate in this type of orthodox type mind frame that we learn in Christianity. You can impart gifts into people. If you have wisdom, you can impart that wisdom in them supernaturally. You can impart a sternness into them. You know, you can impart a certain, see, they have to be around you to some degree to see how you operate and work. But there's another supernatural part that allows you to impart into them by the laying on of your hands. This can't be explained by man. It just is. It happens. It's a call to action. That's it. He does it on purpose. And Timothy receives it. And that's the thing. So you have to be open to receive it. If you look at some of the scripture we turn to, when he began to lay hands on them, they began to speak with other tongues. After they come up out of that water, it wasn't no physical get wet type thing only. Like you doing this actual as an obedience deal, but now the baptism is putting more emphasis on the Ruach HaKodesh, not saying that we do away with water baptism, but I'm saying it alone is not enough to get the work done. It's not going to run away no devil. I mean, like that, you have to have the baptism of the Ruach HaKodesh to do that. And you have to have it, you know, to a point where you know that the power has came based on your call to action. That's what I'm saying. Like once it's been imparted to you, you got to use it. This is why it's telling them, stir up the gift. We're not going to turn to Jude, but I was looking at Jude chapter 20 when it says, praying in your utmost holy belief in the Ruach HaKodesh. And this is what we're doing, building up your belief in the Ruach HaKodesh. We know that faith come by hearing and hearing by the word of Yah. But you have to hear about those that have been called. How can they call unless he's been sent? That's the thing. A lot of them haven't been sent. They just, you know, how can he go unless he's been sent? But a lot of them haven't been sent. They're just going. And so they don't have no gift to give you because they didn't receive no gift. This is what I'm trying to get at. It has to start somewhere. If I say, and this is me using these words, I don't claim any of these titles and stuff because I like the work. He told Timothy, do the work of an advantage. But if I say I'm an apostle, and I can't import some spiritual gift into you, I am not, and I need to sit down. That's what's going on, but we hear a lot of talking going on. We'll get to a lot of that, but Paul said, y'all can talk, but I'm gonna show you through demonstration and power when I get there, and I won't have nothing to do with them that's talking. This paraphrase, he's saying, yeah, they talking, but I got power. Right. And that's the thing, so you saying that and not having power doesn't do nothing, but people, like I said, in the latter time, they're gonna heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. They want to hear something that make them feel good. So they're going to overlook the fact he don't really have no power and get into his the charisma of him. You know what I'm saying? You know, to this charismatic type way that he has about himself, this flamboyant type way for those that are operating in this loosely way. You see these guys running around doing stuff and it's like, you know, and it doesn't really do anything. A lot of shouting and screaming going on, a lot of, you know, feel good, a lot of wordplay going on. A lot of wordplay going on. You know, you hear this during a lot of, you know, I'm talking about for those that come off to be intelligent. Like Paul was saying, you know, but he let them know, though I be rude in speech, I'm not lacking knowledge. You know what I'm saying? I got knowledge. The same thing, though I be rude in speech, you know, the knowledge is here. It's just a matter of receiving this knowledge. And so this is the thing. So he told them, look, stir up the gift that's in you by the laying on of my hands. And he told them, he said, look, I don't want you to come falling behind in no spiritual gift. He was telling the Corinthians, he said, I don't want you falling behind in no spiritual gift. He said, how did I feel Saul with a Saul, Yah, how I robbed other churches and other assemblies to do you service, how I took wages of them. So I'm saying, that's why he say, me and Barnabas, we have power to forbear working. But for your sake, we're going to show you the example that we need to do. He said, if a man don't work, then he don't eat. You know what I mean, that's the thing. So not to set a bad example for those guys and run around. We have all of them wanting to run around thinking they ain't supposed to do anything. But this, that's the thing. So, but anyway, I do a lot of talking on it, but anyway, this stir up the gift thing has just been in me. You know what I mean? Just stirring up the gift, you know, getting back, revelation, repent and do thy first works. What is that you can document? I documented on paper from the beginning to this point pretty much in the major events, what was going on. In both events, it was both parties, both genders laying hands on me at that time. They was operating together in unity in the church under the umbrella of male authorship at that time. But it don't mean that, you know, it could go another way or however they got it going on. But just talking about for us what we read Because when you hear the apostle talk, he said, we don't have such custom if any of you seem to be contentious. He goes on to finish with that. So he was letting them know this pretty much, I'm just sharing this with you, but we don't have to do this, but this is what I'm telling you. And a lot of people took it as law and ran with it. Other than that, he'll have no reason to say, we don't have such, such custom, you know what I mean? So anyway, just talking about stirring up the gift. I know I can't never get them to say nothing, but if anybody want to talk about stirring up the gift that's inside of them, you remember how you felt when you first got saved, when you first came into the truth, how it was just bubbling up inside you, how it was all about Yahushua Mashiach, and you was really hungry for that knowledge, wanting to really get into that word. I had that night and day reading the word type thing.
Right.
You got nothing about stirring up the gift. When y'all want to expound on stirring up the gift that's inside of you, a little bit, whatever. Want to talk about anything? I mean, since we are here across the air, I feel like a dictator versus hearing something from you. I mean,
probably want to wait to the
y'all want to wait. Well, I know that, but I'm just asking like that. Just asking generally.
Wait to the end.
It's fine. But you don't have nothing about stirring the gift, so you good on that? All right. So what we at now? Yeah. Let's look at 1 Timothy. I'm not gonna do that. Look at 1 Timothy 4. We're gonna go to 1 Timothy 4. Got Timothy in two different spots here.
16, 15.
Okay. 1 Timothy 4, 13 through 16 is talking about don't neglect the gift that's in you. And see, and so at this point, Timothy had to have neglected it and start feeling discouraged, because if you finish that, if you look at that letter from the beginning, he's talking about the tears and everything. You know what I mean? Saying, so he had to be sad when, whatever point Paul had separated from him, he had to be at some point sad. So he started letting them know through words of encouragement. And we're not going to get into all this, but if you look at Timothy in the 3rd and 4th chapter, how it just keeps going on, talking about the time will come when they would not endure sound doctrine. He would let them know, preach the word, be instant, in season, out of season. And so when it seems like it's out of season, when things seem bad, when it's wintertime for you, still want to use that gift. You still want to stir up that gift, even if it look like you don't feel like you have it. It's not a feeling, it's a gift. You have to stir it up. It's always there. Once you got it, it's just lying dormant. And so when you neglect the gift, that means that you're saying that you don't want the gift to operate, you're letting it cease because of the fact that you have your mind is kind of wandered away past the fact that you once had this gift and it's still there. The Ruach HaKodesh doesn't go anywhere. You just grieve it to a point where now you're not letting them operate and lead you. So he stepped back and let you just keep going until you probably, crashes, whatever. So.
Right. 1 Timothy 4, you said 13.
Yeah, 13 through 16.
All right. 1 Timothy 4, chapter 4, verse 13 says, "Till I come, give attendance to reading, to exhortation, to doctrine."
Okay. Now, so this is what's going to happen, say give attendance to reading, to exhortation, to doctrine. So that means you need to be reading the doctrine, and basically the exhortation need to be going forth. You need to make sure that you're actually giving attendance to this. This is something you have to do. This is a call to action. You have to do this intentionally. And this is why you have to follow these instructions so that this gift can operate in you. It's not going to operate if you're not doing nothing. If you're not reading the word no more, you're not studying, you're not praying no more or nothing, then it's not going to be a desire there. Right. You're just not going to have it. Oh, go ahead.
Neglect not the gift that is in you, which was given you by prophecy with the laying on of the hands of the elders. Now I
say given to you by prophecy with the laying on the hands of the elders. Once again, Paul and them got their hands laid on, him and Barnabas, and they got commissioned to do the work. Go ahead.
Meditate upon these things. Give yourself wholly to them, that your profiting may appear to all.
Okay. It say, give yourself wholly to them, that your profit may appear to all. You have to kind of yield all your members into these gifts so that people can see the progress in you. And no one's going to see the progress in you if you're not focused on this. It doesn't talk about doctrine only. It's talking about exhortation and everything. Like you have to actually lift it up. You have to actually begin to, I would say, put it on the spotlight. Shout it out from the rooftop. You know what I'm saying? Hey, look, this is what I'm expressing. That gift of exhortation. You know what I'm saying? Those that actually can get you pumped up. But the thing is, it has to be about the things of Yah not about some carnal stuff that they trying to showboat on.
Right.
That's the thing. So it's like, I don't need to know what all you bought and what all you've been blessed with carnal. I need to know what's happening through the Ruach about you. That's the thing. And then you tell me that stuff, then it begin to, show on the outside. Go ahead.
16. Take heed unto yourself and into the doctrine. Continue in them, for in doing this, you shall both save yourself and them that hear you.
And you see the vice versa to that. So if you don't do this, you don't save yourself, and them that hear you fall.
Right.
Is it? And so that's what's going on. So it's like the blind leading the blind. These are the foundations of things right here. You have to actually look at the foundation of what's going on. And so that's why Paul had to keep tearing a lot of stuff down. He had to let them know, even in Hebrews, he had to let them know how don't sit there and focus on the fact that, that you're under Yahushua Mashiach only, and all these Levitical laws and everything that's been set forth, the washing of hands and the water baptism and all this stuff. He said, now it's time to move past that and do some work. He was letting them know that now that you've figured out all of that, we know that you're in Yahushua Mashiach, we know that you've been baptized and everything. We don't need to make that no type of ministry. I'm saying that's supposed to be a given, that you're supposed to have that. I'm saying that's your foundation, but don't use the foundation to build on and start something else with it. It's not, it's not supposed to be nothing where all you talk about is Yahushua Mashiach. You're supposed to walk with the authority of Yahushua Mashiach and talk about these spiritual things he's giving you. But when you hear people that's been tricked in their mind, even in church, you'll hear say, I want to talk about nothing but Jesus. It's like, that's a trick, because it's like, you have to talk about something when people only want to discuss the Bible only. I mean, like, you have to talk about things so that the Ruach can show you what's going on in this person's life. They don't know about this. Right. So what are you going to talk to them about? As long as you don't venture into things that are not of Yah like that. But it's like we have to get out of that religious mindset to where it's like, if you don't have nothing to do with Yah, you don't want to hear it from this person. It's like you have to communicate with these people. It has to be the word in action. That's right. That's right. You have to communicate. And if you're not communicating with them, and if they hearing you communicate something different than this, like Paul said, if he that come preach another Yahushua Mashiach, you might well bear with him. He was saying it's going to be some problems like that, because it's going to lead you in the wrong direction. You can't be listening to something different. I think we looked at that. Corinthians 4, 14 through 20. 1 Corinthians 4. You got that page there. 1686. Okay, so 1 Corinthians 4, starting at out the 14th verse.
1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 14. I write not these things to shame you, but as my beloved sons, I warn you. For though ye have 10,000 instructors in Mashiach, yet have ye not many fathers.
So this is what he's saying is because remember, we talked about this in 1 Timothy 1, I think it's 2 Timothy 1, 1 through 7, when he started saying Timothy, you know what I'm saying? He let them know that he laid hands on him. This is his beloved son, which they translated in King James Version through the bowels. Like he actually got him through the Ruach HaKodesh. He actually kind of put himself in a leadership role over Timothy as someone that Timothy looks up to in the realm of the Ruach. And so in this case, he got other ones too. But they're not doing what Timothy is doing, as we can see, unless it's in some other book. But we have other ones here that's actually able to call him, a father. But at the same time, a lot of them had a lot of instructors. He's letting them know if you got instructors, they're not going to be as compassionate as somebody else that's going to say that, that you're their son. And all they're doing is teaching you, and that's it. That's why when you look at this, that's why I talked about one day how a pastor has to be a teacher. He has to be able to teach the word, but all teachers are not pastors. Right. They fall under this instructor thing. And the problem that's coming in that because a lot of people can teach, they think they're pastors. They're not. They don't have the compassion for the flock. And that's what they're lacking. And just since they can teach, they've took this role and called themselves pastor and apostle. Your education doesn't put you in position. It's a passion. You have to have a passion for the people. And if you don't have a passion for the people, you're not that, because the fact that when they actually begin to fall or run away, you won't leave the 99 to go get the one. You're going to be concerned about that 99. They're going to bring you some money. That's the thing. So you're not going to fall off of something that you know to be right, that you know to be wrong, to do the right thing when the majority of them are not wanting to hear it. When this low-class person comes up and tells you something is going on wrong in the church, you're going to go with the majority of the crowd because you think about the money. That's what goes on. They think about the tithe, the offering, the whatever, the love offering that they can get. So they're not going to, instructors going to go with the majority. They're going to say, no, you messing up our flow, whatever. So it's like, they're not going to want to hear that. But a pastor, a shepherd is going to hear that instruction from that one, hear him crying out and fix it and lose half of those ones that's not doing the right thing for the sake of the gain, the better. You know what I'm saying? So,
All right.
you stopped at that semi.
Did I stop at fathers?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it's 15. For in Mashiach Yahusha, I have begotten you through the Besor. Wherefore I beseech you, be ye followers of me. For this cause I have sent unto you Timothy, who is my beloved son and faithful in Yahuwah, who shall bring you into remembrance of my ways, which be in Mashiach, as I teach everywhere in every assembly. Now some are puffed up, as though I would not come to you, but I will come to you shortly, if Yahuwah will, and will know, not the speech of them which are puffed up, but the power.
See, they say, I'm not going to be trying to hear that, what they're talking about that's puffed up. It's going to be the power. Say, y'all do all that talking, I'm coming with power, the paraphrase. So he said, I'm not going to even know none of that, but when I come, I'm coming with power, and they just doing a lot of talking. Go ahead.
For the kingdom of Yahuwah is not in word, but in power.
That's it. And so that's it. So it's not in word, it's in power. It's not about showboat and all this stuff. It's in power. And this is what I'm saying. I hear a lot of word, right, and I see a lot of talking, but I don't see the power. Didn't see a lot of it on the flip side, and I ain't seeing a lot of it in the so-called walk. So that's the thing. So that's when it goes back to doing your first works. And when your first works is about deliverance, it's about minds anyway, it's about people being delivered and people being set free. And that comes with power. And if you don't have no power, you can't be set free. You can't set anybody free. And so it's basically what we're trying to get back at again, saying that now a lot of people are going to need some type of relationship. You're going to need relationship. Healthy relationships are good. Right. A lot of them out here need somebody to look up to and need somebody to actually take them under their wing. A lot of young ones that I see out here, because a lot of things, it got started wrong from the get-go. Right. It don't matter if they've been doing it 20 years. It wasn't wrong wasn't right from the beginning. And so since it's structured in such a manner, what happens, we have people that's actually out here, and it's kind of like, just want to give a good example, it's just kind of like trying to teach an old dog new tricks, whatever the way I want to say it, because it's like, though they grew up to be elders, they still have a milk-like mentality. I see a beard, I see the greatness, and I see this, but I don't see the things of the ruach that can cause you to be into perfection of the things of Yah. I just see a natural older man that's been put in position to say that they are elder. Well, but that's not what we need. And that's a dysfunction because it went on for so long. And since it went on for so long, people look at that as a model and don't see no power. There has to be some power outside of the natural man. And the only way you're going to get that power is through the Ruach HaKodesh. We have to get back to the fast, and we got to get back to operating in the things of Yah so we can hear from Yah, back to the prophetic. This stuff is from us. They hijacked it and took it from us. And we seen it when we got in Christianity and said, okay, now that we're in the walk, it fades out, but it's not supposed to fade out. You're supposed to see this in operation. And it goes back to me saying, whatever you want to see, you have to become. That's the thing. So if you want to see power, you got to get power. You want to see the prophetic move, that's a gift. The apostles say, covet the best gift. You can covet prophesying. That's it. And that's it. And anything outside of that doesn't edify the church. It's just something that's going to edify you personally. Knowledge puffs up. And so the more knowledge you gain, it doesn't actually help the inner man. It just helps the outer man intellectually. It doesn't help you in the inner man. What we have going on now, when the church world start getting into this 501c3 thing and start dumbing them down where they can't usually talk about the things they need to talk about. So it actually put them in a position where it actually took away, I want to say, cognitive thinking, where you don't have the ability to think for yourself and actually reason. They don't know how to put 2 and 2 together. They know 2 and 2 or 1 plus 1 equal 2, but they don't really know what you did that, they did that. Now this happened because, it's teaching the actual minister not to sound the alarm when things go wrong and don't say nothing bad, like Ezekiel was saying about that 34th chapter. When he come and he don't sound the alarm, then the blood is upon his hand for the one that didn't get warned. And if he sound the alarm, the blood is upon that one's hand. But what we have going on now, he's not sounding the alarm because he's not going to speak against homosexuality and all this stuff that's going on. He's not going to talk about the agenda of things. So what he does is think for the people. And so now it's like, do as I say, You know what I'm saying? Don't worry about what the words say. You know what I mean? Don't worry about what I'm doing. Just do what I tell you to do. Don't think for yourself. Let me think. And that's the same thing going on with the propaganda and everything in the world. And the actual worldly minister has mirrored this and actually copied this to himself, to the point where now the flock, they don't think on their own. They don't have that the ability to reason among themselves. They don't have the ability to separate thoughts right from wrong. It's just morally right or some, wrong. They don't even do that. They say, okay, look, the pastor said it, this is what we're going to do. And he's only doing so much, because if he do too much, they're going to shut the doors, because it's 501c3 owned by the state. And so this is what we have to look at. So to be free, you can't take that handout. That's the thing. You have to just have it separate from that, so you can speak on things. And you're not supposed to. And they'll tell you, don't endorse nothing, don't get in no politics, don't say nothing bad about nothing. Anything that's got something to do with political things, even if you see it wrong, don't say anything. And they're being muzzled and controlled, and they muzzle you. So it's like, so we have to look at this for what it's worth. If there's a gift inside of you, you have to stir up that gift. Stir that gift up by actually, sometimes you have to go through memory lane and remember those times when you were once on fire, and put yourself into the place of what was going on, so you can actually bring it back up again. I guess, well, that being said, we're going to say a prayer and end it. Father, y'all, thank you right now for being with us this day, Father. Y'all, we thank you right now that you give us the ability, Father, y'all, and the desire to stir up the gift that's in us, Father, y'all. Those that don't have it, put them in position where they can get it, Father, y'all. And Father, y'all, we thank you for the word that went forth. Thank you that it may enlighten us, Father, y'all. Yes, in the name of your son, Yahushua HaMashiach, we pray. So be it.